Amazon Prime Day spending dropped a stunning 15% this October, the biggest plunge we have seen in years. If you are watching every dollar and feeling nervous about stretching your budget for the holidays, trust me, you are not alone. Something just changed in how Americans are spending, and the signals are louder than ever. But before you break out your holiday gift list, let's uncover the top 3 traps nearly everyone falls into that can wreck your January. Finances. Could you be on track to make the same mistakes? Stick with me, because I am breaking down the data, the warning signs, and the tiny changes you can make right now to avoid a holiday debt hangover. Let's break this all down, because that 15% drop in Prime Day spending is not just a passing headline. It is an early indicator of how much tighter money is for regular families this year. First, the fast facts. Amazon held its second Prime Day event in October following the summertime one in July. But this time, shoppers did not show up like before. According to Amazon's own data, 45% of shoppers during the October event said the only reason they even made a purchase was they waited for items to go on sale. That is nearly half of all buyers putting off their spending until they could pounce on a deal. Now pause and ask yourself, have you started cutting back on non-essential spending this year? Let's get a pulse on our community. Share your experience in the comments, because what you are feeling is showing up nationwide. The next group, 28%, focused their Prime Day shopping on everyday essentials. Think groceries, toiletries, household basics, the stuff you cannot get when times are tight. Another 25% were only shopping for discounted stock-up items. That means 3 out of 4 shoppers were laser-focused on either absolute necessities or score-it-now savings. But the drop-off was not just in what we bought. It was in who bothered to shop at all. Roughly 90% of Amazon shoppers knew about the October Prime Day, but only 61% of the people who shopped in July came back for this second event. Contrast that with 88% re-shopping rates just a few months earlier. That is a massive slide, and it is telling us the economic pinch got real in less than a season. Here's the first big holiday money takeaway. If you have been selectively waiting for deals or skipping the sales entirely, you are actually ahead of the curve. The myth that everyone else is still shopping like crazy is not backed by data anymore, so you do not have to feel isolated when you pass on another flashy deal. Speaking of deals, here's a quick real-world scenario. Imagine Alex, a 32-year-old in our Ray Invests audience. Alex noticed all the talk about holiday sales, but realized his July wallet could not handle another hit by October. He decided to wait for essentials only, and by tracking deals instead of impulse buys, ended up cutting his Prime Day spending by 20%, leaving him with more cash for the true must-haves later in the season. If you want a clear, step-by-step system for decisions like this, stick around. I have made a free holiday budget checklist you can download below. I will explain how it works right after these takeaways. Now, let's look at the actual numbers behind those shifting trends. The average order value this latest Prime Day was $45, down from $53 in July, a 15% drop in just a few months. Even more, 44% of Prime Day orders were under $20. That means nearly half of all purchases were for minor essentials or ultra-discounted items, not big gifts or electronics. Progress marker here. It is not just about spending less overall. It is also about downsizing each purchase. If you have found yourself swapping big gifts for smaller practical ones or resisting add to cart on every limited time offer, you are part of a bigger shift happening across America. Here's the second major budgeting trap: FOMO buying. This urge to snag something just because it is on sale, even when you would not have bought it at regular price, can derail your bigger goals. The data shows only 23% of October Prime Day shoppers used the event to kick off their holiday shopping, down from 45% last year. That is nearly a halving in gift-focused spending, suggesting people are not just buying later. They are spending with more intention and caution. Now here is a little micro-challenge. What is the one holiday expense you refuse to compromise on even when slashing your budget? Maybe it is something for your kids, a holiday meal or travel to see family. Drop it below. Let's see how our community prioritizes and get inspired by each other's stories. This kind of intentional trade-off, spend less overall, but not everywhere, is what keeps financial stress manageable. But hold on, because the third and final trap is the sneakiest of all, and it is where most January regrets come from. I will get to that in just a moment. First, zoom out and look at the bigger economic signals. Credit card spending, which usually spikes this time of year, has started to fall flat, something we don't often see. What does this mean? People are either hitting their borrowing limit or they are finally pulling back before debts get worse. Either way, it is a sign that caution is taking over, even for folks who used to rely on plastic for seasonal splurges. Now, let's talk about what shoppers are already telling us about their mindset this season. 80% expect prices to be higher. No surprise there, but it explains the restraint. And 31% plan to buy fewer items. That is a big change in behavior. And with grocery costs rising for everyone, more families are forced to shift spending away, from gifts to cover the basics. Here's our third takeaway. The buy now, pay later mindset is the most common way people sabotage their January budgets. It is so easy to use debt to keep up with traditions or social expectations, only to walk into the new year with a pile of regret. Plus, rising interest rates can mean holiday splurges stick around a lot longer than you planned. If you want to avoid the trap of starting the year in debt, keep this in mind. Budgeting smart is not about saying no to everything. It is about picking your yes moments in advance, quick shareable moment. Financial peace in January starts with smarter spending today. Screenshot or jot it down. And if this resonates, hit the like button so I know to keep doing these real-world budgeting breakdowns for our Ray Invest community. Before we wrap with action steps, a quick pattern break. If you are feeling overwhelmed by all the moving, economic pieces, you are not alone. That is exactly why I created my free holiday budget checklist. It is a simple, step-by-step printable to keep your spending on track, avoid the debt spiral, and bring some calm back to holiday planning. The link is right below in the description. Download it and set aside 10 minutes tonight to map out your priorities. Here's exactly what you should do next. Review your essentials. List out where you know you are not willing to compromise, and decide in advance which deals are actually worth grabbing. Consider using free tools like Google Sheets, Mint, or YNAB to track your real numbers. Seeing your plan in black and white is a game changer for most of my subscribers. One last reminder. There is no guarantee as every year's holiday economy will look the same as the last. These trends give us a peek, not a promise. Staying intentional and armed with data means you are making wiser choices than most. If you found this helpful, do not forget to grab your checklist, subscribe for more down-to-earth money tips from Ray Invests, and share your #1 holiday budgeting tip in the comments. We make this journey easier together. Let's quickly recap what the latest Prime Day data means for your holiday wallet. First, shoppers are only spending on essentials and true deals. Almost half waited for discounts. 28% went for must-haves, and 25% for bulk savings. Second, fewer people came back to shop, and individual spending shrank from $53 to $45 per order. Third, rising prices and economic pressure mean 31% plan to buy fewer items, but most still risk falling into the debt trap with last-minute splurges. Here's your 3-part action plan. Tonight, download my free holiday budget checklist linked below and list out your non-negotiables versus nice-to-haves before shopping. Over the next week, price out essentials and start tracking every purchase. Tools like Mint, YNAB, or a simple Google Sheet. Make this easier. By the end of this season, your goal is to avoid January debt. Starting strong in the new year, expect to see real changes in your stress and spending habits within your first holiday using a real plan. Not perfection, just better control. Ready to lock in your holiday budget success? Download the checklist, subscribe to Ray Invests for more practical money tips, and hit like if these data-driven breakdowns help you breathe easier. Comment your own must-have holiday tradition below or share a tip that has worked for you. Let's build a support network that lasts beyond just the shopping season. This is educational content, not personal financial advice. Always do your own research when planning your budget.